Welcome back to the Burst Mode studio here at the Photography Show, and right now we have Mark from Olympus joining us to show off some exciting new wares. Mark, what have you got to show us today?
I'd like to show you my new favourite, which we wouldn't have had a chance to show at the shows. This is rather a nice thing. It's the 12-45 lens on the EM5 Mark III.
Which is actually a very, very, very handy combination.
It's very handy, and I notice that your choice is the silver one.
Yes.
I have the black one here today, purely by coincidence. But the reason is that often, and shows are as guilty as us at doing this, you bring out the next big thing and the previous thing gets forgotten about. Mm-hmm. But the EM5 Mark III has been a firm favourite with a lot of people since it was launched. We tend to think, oh, okay, it's out, we've got to concentrate on the next thing. And the 12-45 was really what it was crying out for, because it was missing that combination lens that fits the body type. And this lens is particularly compact.
So on the pen cameras, you've got the 14-42, the compact pancake lens, which is a wonderful lens in its own right, and that's a great combination. But as we say, the 12-45 f4 Pro lens, and it is a Pro lens because it's also weather sealed.
You stole my line there.
I did steal your line, but as is the camera, so you do have an all-in-one system that doesn't stop when the rain starts.
That's right. The pancake lens is great, and it allows, it's probably about this big.
Tiny,
and it means you can shove it in a coat pocket, but it isn't weatherproofed. So if you really are someone who likes to go out in all weathers, then it's something to watch out for. The other thing is it's not a constant aperture zoom, and a lot of people prefer that, and all the Pro lenses are also constant aperture. So this is a nice compromise. It doesn't look at first glance that much smaller than the existing 12-40, which is a 2.8 aperture. Yep. But actually you put them side by side, and yes, I've exaggerated slightly by putting it on the M1X, but this certainly, the combination is much more compact. And that's really what this camera's all about.
So if we talk about it in 35mm terms, this is a 24 to 90mm equivalent.
Yep.
So it's giving you that standard zoom range with that constant f4 aperture. And I believe this is the smallest and lightest standard zoom constant aperture lens that exists.
As we speak. Very good.
As we speak, and is about comparable in size and weight to a large Apple. So
yeah, you picked up on that. I'm
I
not
did
sure
indeed.
Came up with the Apple idea, because apples do vary, but yes, that's one of the lines that somebody's chosen. I think in the end you've got to take it around, and we did a street photography event on Friday, and that was a chance to really see the difference. And although even the M1 Mark III, which was the one we launched just before the show, is pretty small with a 12-40 on it, this is completely different. And you're wandering the streets for a few hours, and that's really who it's aimed at. It's people who are taking it out a lot.
It's a great street and travel proposition. I think it's also great. What we easily overlooked is it also has macro features. So if you're somebody who wants that option to, maybe you're not a dedicated macro shooter, so having the 60mm macro lens you don't always keep with you, but when you're out and about with this all-purpose standard zoom lens, you want to shoot some macro stuff, you've got that capability.
It's true, very good point. That's one of the other benefits of like 4/3 is macro is something that it's particularly good at. You put that together with, even in this tiny body, the image stabilization is almost up there with the 1X, then it's a winning combination.
I think that's that's easily overlooked. So the fact that the EM5 III has 5-axis stabilization, how many stops do we have on the 5 III?
I think this is 6.
So we have the EM5 Mark III with a 5-axis, 6 stops of stabilization as a walk-around lens, and that enables you to work at that f4 aperture to get lovely, lovely stable shots. And also, as I say, it's a great vlogging and video option as well, because it's got that sharp autofocus. It's nice and quick and nice and smooth. But when you're shooting macro as well, the ability to shoot that handheld. You've got your standard zoom lens to walk around with. You find something, that would be a great super close-up. You don't have to worry about getting a tripod and bits and pieces out. You can hand-hold it to ridiculous long exposure speeds.
I think you've been using it before, haven't you?
I may have used this camera once or twice before. I am a believer in the Micro Four Thirds system. I believe it has a number of advantages.
It's very handy that you're here, actually.
Always handy to be the man around.
But that's, you could see that, that's the fixed 25, which is equivalent to an old 50mm fixed lens in many ways. And this is not that much bigger. And you're right, the flexibility that you get is
so if we sort of
rather nice.
pop these side by side.
Absolutely.
You can see that the whole system is absolutely tiny. It's very, very street and travel friendly. I mean, this is the sort of thing you could take on vacation, take to the street, or always just keep in your side bag or your satchel, and you've always got a camera on the go. And the old saying goes that the best camera is the one you've got with you. So if you've got something that small, you can always take it with you.
It's very true, and I think one of the changes is that if you go back and look at, I don't know, the E400, which was one of the tiny mirrored cameras series that we did way back when, it's not that much difference in size, but the power difference is fairly extraordinary to what you can do. And it's got to a point now that the real beauty of it is you get all that power. It's virtually silent, which again, for a lot of genres is particularly good. And it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain just how much has changed in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, you've seen it.
The change has been dramatic, and if we even look to the fact that since we've got the 5.3 with us, the M5 Mark III, so we've got the 20 megapixel sensor in it now, which has the phase detect autofocus, so it's got a lot of the stuff that you've got in the higher end cameras, missing a few tricks that if you're a real serious pro, you might want to spend a bit more, but this camera here will give you things like silent shooting, as you just alluded to, rock solid stabilization, the phase detect that, again, video or stills, is going to track your subjects and follow really, really good, really, really quickly, and you stick that 12-45 f4 lens on the front and you're kind of laughing, really.
Yeah, and to a large extent, people who want to do a bit of motorsport, a bit of wildlife, can use these bodies. They're perfectly fine. The reason you go for something, and this looks, a lot of people ask why we did the 1X, but it's because if somebody wants to go out and shoot all day and not fanning around worrying about batteries and whether the weather's going to get in, because ultimately the grip's all built in, which makes it that much more robust. Plus, this is very well balanced to big telephotos. I'm going to say big, our big telephotos.
Big in
relatively speaking.
Yes.
So if that's what you're doing, then you're going to go for something like this. But you can try your hand at it even with these, because they're so quick nowadays that compared to where things were not that long ago, you'll be pretty successful.
Absolutely. So we see the bigger end of the scale, we've got a really heavy duty pro system. Here we've got a nice nimble camera that you can take around. It's good for a number of purposes. And you've got this great now all-purpose practical lens that you can take anywhere and shoot pretty much anything.
That's the idea.
That's great stuff. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, James.
And thank you for joining us too here at the Photography Show Burst Mode.